Hey guys, Dr. Breck here. Just wanted to take a couple minutes just to sort of prep you guys for that sociology final here coming up. I don't think any of you guys were in class except one. So I didn't really get a chance to review anything of your quizzes. Any of that previous material are all sort of fair game. I'm going to post a couple different resources for you guys, just sort of recap some things, refresh your memory with some stuff. I do want to go over a couple type of questions. It's going to still be multiple choice. It's not going to be anything that you have not sort of anticipated before or seen before. There will be no essays, no true and false, nothing like that. The type of questions that you guys might see would be like, blank refers to a group whose inherited physical characteristics distinguish it from other groups. A, ethnicity. B, race. C, minority group. D, dominant group. The answer would be B, race. Okay. Also, other things. Our assumptions about what people are like are known as what? A, educated guesses. B, stereotypes. C, roles. Or D, status sets. The answer would be stereotypes. Okay. Again, a lot on the last chapter that we had talked about because we had not been able to test on that. So do expect to know a lot about that one when it comes to final material. A blank is committed by people of respectable and high social status in the course of their occupations. Street crime, white-collar crime, victimless crime, or a crime that results in society's most severe punishments. What do you think? White-collar crime. Okay? So, like, those types of questions are all going to sort of be fair game. Just make sure that you guys are looking over that kind of stuff. Let me think here if there's anything else. Again, it could be in reference to our previous information. So make sure that we sort of recall some things like Kingsley Davis's article about that 5-year-old that was from a small Pennsylvania city. Remember that kind of stuff. What kind of child was she? Was it feral or isolated or institutionalized? And what was she known for? And she was known, you know, what happened to her? What was her name? That kind of thing. Okay. Also look at things like Emil Durkheim's 4 types of suicides. Egoistic, anomic, fatalistic, those kinds of things. Which one would not be one in which it would include that? So it would be attachment. Attachment is not one of Emil Durkheim's 4 types of suicides. Go back to some of our first things that we had talked about. Think about Horace Miner's article. Remember about the Nisarima? And you guys had to explain to me, what was that an example of? Were we looking at racism? Were we looking at sexism, ethnocentrism, taboo kind of stuff? Like, which part of that? Do you remember? Because you guys had to sort of go back, read the article, and you're like, this culture doesn't exist in this society. But what we found was, flip the words, right? It's American. And so a lot of the things that you and I sort of do on a normal basis might seem out of the norm to other individuals. Okay. Think back to the movie that we watched with the Crips and the Bloods. What is that an example of? Think about like what we talked about with different cultures and deviance and crime and that kind of stuff. Think about things like a group of people who share a culture and a territory are known as what? A global group, an extended family group, a society, or a global village? The answer would be society. So again, really think about that context of going back to the sociological imagination, society. How do we end up with our beliefs and values? How do those sort of form? What are those institutions in which we talk about? Start to think about things like some of our main founders, Karl Marx, Remember, he had talked about the bourgeoisies and the proletariats. We have those two societies that exist. What has to happen, according to him, in order for us to reach that pinnacle of no longer having that conflict? Okay. Think about the things like we had sort of talked about last, about the research that had been done on certain types of theories that had looked at prejudice and negative stereotypes, believing like they can decrease as relations improve if certain individuals from different backgrounds interact more frequently. What is that called? Do you remember? That's the contact theory. That's the idea that the more time we spend with people, the more likely we aren't going to have those feelings and those attitudes and those belief systems in place, because we're getting to know the person. Look at the term capital punishment. Think about what that is. What is capital punishment? That's the death penalty. So if you remember, like, we're looking at the ideas in which there's different things set up within our criminal justice system in order to sort of evoke those behaviors that we as a society want to see. And that there are certain things, certain crimes in which are, in our mind, hit a different tier. And so there's a different level of consequence that comes with that. Okay. Go back to Irving Goffman's discussion on derogatory. Do you remember where we talked about the idea that social life is sort of like a drama or a stage play? Look at that a little bit. Remember also that there are unintended consequences as well as intended consequences. When we go to school, think about the manifest and the latent things that we sort of come up with, those functions that help us within that social system. It's not just about reading those books and understanding new information. It's also about other kind of skills, like raising our hand, waiting in line to go to the water fountain, those kinds of things. Sorry, guys. Remember the idea about that we as a society might also attempt to strip somebody's self-identity and give them something new. That would be that part of that degraduation ceremony. We talked about that with like boot camp, that kind of thing. Look at the idea of, oh goodness, I'm trying to think here what else we can make sure you guys feel comfortable with. The research model. Make sure you guys are sort of reviewing those types of topics. What are those steps? What are those different stages of it? I don't necessarily need you to know every single one, but I do want you guys to become familiar with what that looks like. And remember what some of those things are as far as like a hypothesis, the research design, what's interview bias, that kind of thing. And remember the 3 different types of theories. With symbolic interactionists, right? What are we looking for? What's happening within that? Versus conflict theory and functionalism. Functionalism, we're looking at the idea of all those pieces sort of fitting together and everything having a function within our society, sort of like a well-working an organ within it, right? It's a piece of the puzzle. It's not the whole thing. We need a lot of things in order to sort of continue to breathe and move and do stuff, right? Remember about different parts of culture, non-material versus culture material, okay? As well as different things that can factor into stuff as far as our life course. What types of sociology are there? There's basic, there's public sociology, different things like that. 50 questions, guys. Not trying to trick you. If you guys have questions, reach out to me, though, okay? All right, good luck. I'll see you tomorrow.